Hi, everyone. I'm here for our live spirit chat. This is a chance for you to participate in a group coaching session and get your questions answered regarding your spiritual development, developing your spiritual path, your psychic abilities, your intuition, working with magic, folk magic, candle magic, your ancestors, your spirit guides, your guardian spirits, and all things related and in between. And I've got a couple of new things going on. I'm now live on YouTube as well as on IG, which is brand new for me. So we'll see how this works. And if you might want to bear with me because I haven't done this before. So if I'm getting questions on both places, or it's possible that I might have some technical difficulties, we'll see how things go. The other thing that I wanted to say is that it's a really big goal for me right now to get back into my artwork and to incorporate my artwork into my other work. And I wanted to show you and do a little shameless self-promotion. The t-shirt that I'm wearing has my artwork on it. So this is an example of the artwork that I do, and it's really important to me to make time to do more art and to get back into really doing that because I love it so much, really doing that joyous activity that brings me so much satisfaction and gives me so much outlet and really assists me with also being spiritually connected in a lot of ways and is a meditative practice in and of itself. So I just wanted to mention that I do have some of these t-shirts left for sale. I've already sold some of them, but I have some in limited sizes. If this artwork looks like something that that you're interested in or that you like, then hit me up. I'll let you know what sizes are available. I know that it seems a little bit unrelated to the other work that I do at this point, but one of my main goals is to integrate these things together more, or at least to the extent that I'm able to. So you're going to find me working my artwork more and more into my other work, and you'll see things of this nature available in the near future. And if you weren't here in the beginning, I am live on YouTube right now as well, so that's why I'm kind of switching back and forth. I don't think anybody is there on YouTube. It's my first time ever being live there. So just in case, for future reference, if you like YouTube, if you're a subscriber over there, or if you prefer watching things on YouTube, that's now going to be available for you as well. If you want one, then go ahead and send me an email. It's inquiries@missmelinda.com. I see your comments, Debbie Dolly Holly, maybe. I see your comment, so go ahead and hit me up. There's an email button underneath my highlights on Instagram, on my Instagram profile, but my email is inquiries@missmelinda.com. I don't feel that there's a negative, so I'm getting a question on YouTube, and it is, any thoughts on the negative shift these past weeks? So I don't feel that there's a negative shift these past weeks. But what I do feel is that the shift into Mercury retrograde, this retrograde season, has been a little bit more significant than it typically is, meaning that the shadow phase leading up to retrograde felt a bit more significant and a bit more intense than it sometimes does. So I think we started feeling that a little bit sooner. And what's happening now is we had the new moon in Pisces yesterday around 9:50 a.m. Central Standard Time. And that Pisces new moon is really emphasizing our emotions, our emotional selves, and everything related to kind of our dreamy, unconscious life, which can also mean things that we've repressed or things that we haven't dealt with, things that are in our subconscious that are kind of coming up to the surface. That can be both positive and negative things, right? That can be about our creativity, which is probably one of the reasons I'm feeling so in tune with my creativity and making that a huge goal and place of importance for me at this time. But it can also be leading us to things that are left unhealed or things that are left unfinished, things that we still need to work on. So if you're feeling like there's a lot of negativity recently, it may actually be a teacher for you. It may be something that is pointing you towards what you still need to work on, or what is like unfinished business. It could even be stuff that you thought you were over a long time ago, maybe even things that you had forgotten about. But what this does is point us back towards areas that we can kind of rework, refocus, redevelop. Retrograde, that's the whole gist of retrograde. It points us back to the past to show us where maybe things are left undone. It's really a chance and an opportunity for us to go back and finish those things in a way that's going to allow us to be more whole. So I don't think I've gotten any questions over here on IG yet, but I see all my peeps. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. It's nice to see you here. And if you haven't participated in a live spirit chat before, then it is a chance for you to participate in a live coaching session and get your questions answered surrounding your spiritual development, developing your spiritual path, developing and trusting your intuition, developing your psychic abilities, working with your ancestors, working with your spirit guides and guardian spirits, candle magic, folk magic, divination, meditation, and all kinds of things in between. So if you have any questions for me, this is really your time. This is for you. So please go ahead and ask your questions, and I'm happy to answer them to the best of my abilities. I look forward to these chats. I try to do them once a week, and I look forward to it every week. It's a huge highlight for me. I really love interacting with you. I really love the wonderful questions that you bring to me and the conversations that we're able to have together. It's important for me to connect with you. So, any advice on grounding in especially difficult times? You're amazing, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for your content. Every time I see your videos come up, I feel connected to magic again. Well, that's awesome. That's really important to me. I'm really glad that it's significant to you, that it resonates with you, and that it's helpful to you. It is one of my goals to make magic more approachable for people in their everyday lives, and that just warms my heart that it's helping you reconnect in that way. So I have some tips for grounding that are excuse me, there was like something in my tooth. I have some tips for grounding that are fairly simple, that are kind of my go-tos all the time, that are really great and approachable. So one of the things that I have is a lucky rock that I found on the bottom of Lake Michigan. And at some point, I just intuitively started holding that rock when I need grounding. Sometimes I also press it to my third eye. So if you find a rock, or you have a rock that you really connect with, you can definitely use rocks to assist you with grounding. Just kind of, your left hand is your receptive hand, your right hand is your giving hand. So just kind of hold that in your left hand, tune into the energy, maybe press it to your heart, maybe press it to your third eye. Do whatever intuitively feels right to you. Rocks are extremely helpful for grounding. The other, old age grounding technique that is really approachable and useful is just to stand barefoot. You can be outside in the dirt if you can, but you don't have to. You can do this anywhere, inside or whatever. Stand barefoot, get your feet as flat as you can on the ground, and just center yourself. You want your legs to be about hip width apart, no wider than your hips, just about hip width apart, in alignment with your hips and your shoulders. And press your feet into the ground. You can just drop your hands at your sides. You can do whatever feels comfortable for you with your arms. And imagine your feet growing roots down into the earth, deep down into the earth, and really feel yourself grounded and centered and stabilized. And if you want to take that a step further, and you feel like you've been experiencing a lot of negativity like you were talking about, then you can actually imagine that negativity, or that unwanted energy, or that sadness, or that difficulty just draining from your body all the way through your body, through your feet, and down through those roots. And don't feel bad about giving it to the earth, because that's what the earth is there for. It is an absorber and a transmuter of energy. So we're just releasing into the earth, and then allowing the earth to recycle and transmute that energy. So it's not as if we're giving something negative to the earth. I bring that up because it is often a question that people have. And then to take that even a step further, you could then focus on drawing up new, fresh, invigorating, joyful energy, and just see that and feel that filling your body. Sometimes I find it really helpful to imagine it as kind of like gold, sparkling energy. Sometimes white light is good for people, but those are some really useful and really easy, approachable grounding techniques that anyone can use. Hi, Amy. Nice to see you here. Let's see. Any questions over here on IG? So, Debbie Dolly Holly, I'm from Texas. Awesome. I live in Austin. You might know that. Nice to meet you. Cool. So if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to submit them. I'm here to answer your questions today. This is a time for you. It's a free group coaching session so that you can get some advice about your spiritual path, developing your spiritual abilities, developing your spiritual connection, your intuition, your budding psychic abilities. And newsflash, we all have psychic abilities. We all have intuition that we can tap into. So those are really questions that anybody could use. Practicing magic, folk magic, candle magic, divination, working with your spirit guides, working with your ancestors, your guardian spirits, meditation, tarot, divination, all kinds of things related. Hi, nice to see you. Hank Russell, thanks for joining. Hello, thanks for joining. Nice to see you here. You're welcome. I'm glad that was helpful for you, Kai. Feel free to let me know if you have any follow-up questions. If you weren't here before, I was letting people know that this is my first time ever being live on YouTube as well as on IG. So I'm, if you see me going back and forth, that's what's going on. I don't have a ton of people on YouTube right now, so it's not too overwhelming, but it might take me a minute to get used to answering questions on both locations. And if you weren't here before, I was also talking about the Pisces new moon, and I was talking about how, oh, thank you, you're such a sweetheart. I was also talking about how it really is getting us more in touch with our feelings and could be bringing up some things related to our emotional selves that need healing, especially with this Pisces new moon in conjunction with Mercury retrograde. But there's a lot of other aspects of it too, getting us in touch with our creativity, reminding us about our rich inner world, our connection to spirit. If you're sensitive to the spirit world, if you're sensitive in any way, if you have very strong intuition or you're sensitive to psychic phenomena, this will be a time that you're even more sensitive to it. So watch out for things like that. It's a good time to do your meditation. It's a good time to do your spiritual work. It's a good time to spend some extra time listening to your spirit guides, listening to your ancestors, really sitting quietly and really opening up your ears, paying attention to what you might hear there. And I also mentioned that one of my big focuses recently is that I really need to and want to make it a bigger priority to get back in touch with more of my creative side and my artwork and making that a big priority. And so I want to integrate it into my work, and I have some ideas of how I'm going to do that. It's going to take a little bit of time, but in the meantime, I wanted to show some people some examples. The artwork on this t-shirt is my artwork. And so that's an example of some of the stuff that I do. And I do have some of these t-shirts for sale if anybody is interested. I just have a few sizes left because I have sold some previously. But I just thought I'd throw that in there and let you know what some of my artwork looks like and let you know to keep your eyes open for that in the future. I'm not getting many questions on IG today. Sometimes when that happens, I like to log off early because this is really about you. But if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know because I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Otherwise, it might get kind of boring because I think I've already mentioned just about everything I want to mention. So now I'm going to sip on my tea. So Kai says, I am trying to find ways to block myself from negative energy and to stay on track when things go wrong. It's really a struggle for me to stay on track when things go wrong. Can we see your shirt clearly? I can only see the top, but it looks cool. Sorry, I think I was showing that mostly to the IG people. I don't know how much I can show you. This is what my artwork looks like, what some of it looks like. So, so one of the things that sticks out to me, Kai, is that you're saying that you want to find ways to block negativity, and it's not really possible for any of us. So this gets into territory that's kind of tricky because, like, let's say that you're an empath, for instance. If you are an empath, then you do want to find ways to use energy work, to use energetic barriers to block yourself from other people's negativity and from emotions and energy that you pick up in the world around you, let's say. But no matter what we do, no matter how good we are at creating our own happiness, no matter how grateful for life that we are, no matter what happens or how much we work on ourselves spiritually, we're always going to experience negativity that comes from within. And we're always going to experience negativity that comes up just because life is going to be challenging, and we're all going to experience difficulties. We're all going to experience challenges and sadness and things that are upsetting, because that's what we're here to do, is experience those things, learn how to traverse them, and then find a way to keep living, keep enjoying life, and keep loving, right? So that being said, I think that one of the most important things that's tied in with all of this is to accept how you feel. It is really important that when an emotion comes up for you, you lean into that. You really allow yourself to feel it and to accept it. If you try to block it, it will get worse and cause you other problems, right? So don't block yourself from negativity when it is in conjunction with your own feelings and your reactions to your experiences, your challenges, your relationships, and the world around you. Let's see what else we've got here. Staying on track when things go wrong. A really, really huge, important tool for staying on track when things go wrong is meditation. And it's not going to work instantly, although it will instantly make you feel better in the moment. When you meditate on a regular basis, you're going to be much more likely to be well-balanced, centered, and be able to kind of take things on as they come to you without it totally rocking your world and, destroying your everyday life. But then, it would probably be helpful for me to know a little bit more about your situation, and not here. I'm not trying to make you talk about your private life here, but I'm just saying there could be other factors that come into this as well. For instance, sometimes when people don't have a strong self-worth, or when they're not particularly fulfilled in their lives, when they're not doing the things that fulfill them, or they're not giving themselves enough self-love, they don't have a strong foundation of confidence and self-worth, sometimes that causes us to be, well, not sometimes, that does cause us to be really thrown off when things don't go our way, like when we're rejected, or when we come up against negativity from outside people or in relationships. Then not having that strong foundation can really throw us off. So those are just some things to think about with that. My brother lives with me now, and he's such a negative source, and it's draining me. Yeah, you need protection work. I do offer readings, and I do also offer coaching, and you can contact me at inquiries@missmelinda.com. That's my email, and I offer one-on-one coaching sessions, and I also offer a variety of readings. We've got a question here where she's trying to protect herself from negative energy in her home. So what I would suggest for you is energetic protection. And this is also very simple, but you have to do it every day. You have to keep up on it. And basically, you just need to envision an energy bubble completely surrounding yourself. And it's really important that you can see it. It's surrounding above your head. It's behind your back. It's completely surrounding you on all sides. You can see yourself from below, completely encapsulated. And one of the colors that I like for this energy protection is a light blue, but I also find like a sparkling gold works well for me, and some people really prefer to only work with white light. So you can, have a chance to sort of experiment with that and see what works for you. It's really important that you do what works for you and what resonates with you. And for that energy protection, it's also really important to do it every day. You have to redo it every day. And once you get in the practice of it, it doesn't take very much time, even like 5 minutes in the morning. That's even something that, like, when you're in the middle of the situation and experiencing the negativity right then, and you feel yourself starting to get affected by it and starting to kind of slip, you can do that, when you're in conversation with people and they won't know what's going on, and it works very, very well. So just imagine that energetic protective bubble all around you. And sometimes we find it important as well to make sure that you make the mental note or set the intention that it's not impervious. It's a moving, it's made of energy, like the rest of us are made of energy. So it's moving particles, and you can allow good things to get to you while still not allowing the things unwanted energies to get to you. March is not a good month for empathy. I'm on an emotional roller coaster. Yeah, for empaths. So please do try that protective energy work that I was just talking about. And like I said, it's really simple, but it's really effective. Also, a regular meditation practice to really just help you stay centered and feel balanced. But, pay attention too, because with all of this Pisces energy and this Mercury retrograde, some of the emotions that are coming up might actually be related to stuff that's important to you or stuff that has a significance to you. So don't try to resist it all. See if there's anything there that you can lean into a little bit for some healing, or to, any unfinished business that you need to kind of attend to, any loose ends that need tying up. Also, my biggest piece of advice is be sure that you're not just trying to push your emotions away, even if you are, as you say, on an emotional roller coaster. Allow those emotions, accept yourself, allow yourself to feel, tell yourself however you are is normal, the way that you feel is normal. If you're sad, just go with it. I'm sad, don't push it away. Accept it and accept yourself the way that you are, and you'll find yourself getting through it a lot easier than if you allow yourself any kind of resistance. And sometimes if we just check in with how we're feeling physically, we can feel that tightness, like in our chest, in our solar plexus area, in our stomach, in our shoulders. And when you feel that your body is tight like that, when you take a couple of deep breaths and check in with you, you know that you're putting up resistance to your emotions, or you're putting up resistance to something that's going on in your life. And that means that you are not going with the flow. You are resisting the flow. And what we need to do to really be in tune and accept our blessings and really allow ourselves to grow and blossom and allow good things to come with us is go with the flow. Sometimes that's not fun. Sometimes it's like, well, shit, now I have to be sad for 3 days, but it's going to be a lot better for us in the long run. You're so sweet. Everyone is so sweet today. Thank you, you guys. If you haven't been here before, I repeat myself a lot because I want everyone to know what we're doing here. This is our live spirit chats are a chance for you to participate in a live group coaching session and get your questions answered about developing your spiritual path, developing your spiritual connection, developing and trusting your intuition, developing your psychic abilities, practicing meditation, practicing magic, folk magic, candle magic, divination, and all kinds of things related, including working with your spirit guides and your ancestors and your guardian spirits. So please do let me know if you have any questions. Kai, your questions have been great. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. And you all, let me know if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability. You're welcome. I think your name is Jim, because that's the first part of your handle. So You are welcome. I'm glad that it was helpful for you. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. Obviously, I don't know where everyone lives. I'm here in Texas. It's starting to warm up a little. We're starting to have some sunshine here. It's starting to feel like we're on the brink of spring finally. Spring is coming a bit late to this part of the country, so it's a bit of a relief. I hope you all are experiencing a let up of cold weather wherever you are as well. So the question is, can we heal our autoimmune disease? So the short answer that I have for that is that we can do anything that we put our minds to. Just about, yeah, I'm going to say anything. But we have to learn how to do it, and we have to have faith in it. We have to trust it, and we have to put our minds to it, and we have to really dedicate a lot of time to it. So I just watched a really interesting Netflix documentary about people healing themselves, and I believe that it's just called Heal. So if you have, oh, Jim is your husband, you're Evelyn. Okay, cool. Thank you, Evelyn. I'm glad it was helpful for you. So if you have Netflix, go ahead and watch that documentary called Heal. And in that documentary, they chat with and show the healing techniques of all kinds of different healers. And they talk about the fact that our current Western medicine is based on really an antiquated version of it's based on an antiquated philosophy of physics. And these days, the way that Western medicine was made was before we discovered quantum physics. So these days we have a lot more information about how energy works. And this stuff all ties into what we know about healing and what we know about affecting our own bodies, what we know about stress, what we know about the mind-body connection, what we know about spiritual connection to our health, and what power we have over that. So basically what it boils down to, and I'm doing a lot of simplifying, okay? So if you are interested in any of this, you should look into it further because I'm really oversimplifying. But basically what it comes down to is it's about the mind-body connection. And autoimmune diseases, are related to stress. First of all, they're related to stress, and they're related to trauma, and they're also related to environmental pollutions and toxins. So we definitely have power over autoimmune diseases as well as other kinds of illnesses. And no, I'm not a medical practitioner, and I'm not ever advising anybody to forego medical care. But what I am doing is giving additional information and also recommending that it is tackled from a spiritual and energetic perspective as well as a medical perspective. So it's all about your mind-body connection. And basically what a lot of people do is just send the message. Your mind is what sends the message to your body, right? So continuous stress, continuous trauma, continuous difficulties, and getting down about those and so forth is sending the messages to your body that's making it sick. And it's nobody's fault. It's not like, oh, I'm sick because I have negative thoughts. No, it's just the way that things work, and it's because we live in a really stressful world. So what we have to do is train our minds to send the message to our bodies that we're healing and that we're well. And if you have a specific illness like autoimmune, then you want to specifically focus on that. A lot of people have a lot of luck with really visualizing. Like, you'll have to make something up that works for yourself. Visualizing a way to heal, like visualizing little angels going into your thyroid and healing that disease and making everything well and whole again. One man described how he envisioned putting his spine back together vertebrae by vertebrae, and he healed himself from spinal damage that they told him was going to leave him paralyzed for the rest of his life if he didn't get surgery. So you can watch the documentary or you can do some further research, but I do believe that we can heal ourselves of autoimmune diseases as well as other things. You got to find what works for you and use your mind to send those messages to your body. Use your mind to go through a healing process in your body. What was the other thing I was going to say about that? And it doesn't mean that you have to be thinking positively all the time. It doesn't mean that you have to train yourself not to have any negative thoughts, because that's never going to work for anyone. What we do is we don't succumb to them. We don't believe them. We hear them. We realize that we are not the thought. We are the thing that is observing the thought. So the thought has no power over us. That's first. Then second, you just set aside some specific time each day or each week to really focus on that healing activity. So you don't have to feel like you have to be healing yourself all the time and that you have to become some kind of an enlightened being to do this. Everybody has the power to do this. Yeah, it is a journey for sure. Okay, fibromyalgia. My aunt has fibromyalgia, and it's been really bad for her. I'm sorry to hear that you're going through this. I know how hard it can be, so I'm sorry that you're going through that. And you had a stroke. I'm sorry to hear that. Good. Good. Well, I hope that information helps, and you can let me know if you have any follow-up questions as well. I think I had 2 people join on my YouTube channel. This is my first time live there, so we'll see if it catches on. I haven't been putting as much time and effort into my YouTube channel as I would like to, which is one of the reasons that I am doing these lives on YouTube now as well, and I would like to put more time and effort into it. So for those 2 of you who have joined, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. Good. I'm glad it was helpful information. Let me know what your questions are, y'all. I like answering your questions, and it gets boring if we don't have questions, because I don't come to talk about myself. I sometimes have special announcements. I like to do them at the beginning and then be done with it, because I'm here for you. Oh, thank you. Are you both watching? I'm so glad. What teas do I recommend? Well, I could recommend different teas for different things, but I'm drinking some green tea right now. I highly recommend green tea for its health benefits. What I would say is that it has a high amount of caffeine. It's not the same kind of caffeine that's in coffee. I don't know the science behind that, but we, look it up. There is evidence. It doesn't affect you in the same way that coffee does. I can't quite describe it, but when I drink green tea, I sort of feel like it's a cleaner sort of caffeine. Sometimes if I drink coffee, especially if I drink too much coffee, and I do love coffee, don't get me wrong, but you kind of feel, it just doesn't feel, the caffeine is not as clean. That's the only way I can describe it. But green tea has a lot of really amazing health benefits. It's anti-inflammatory. It helps to remove toxins. It's very good for you. So, sorry, I got distracted reading a question. But the thing that I would say about green tea is be careful that you have food in your stomach when you drink it, because it can be quite agitating to your stomach. And when I didn't know that, I did drink some tea once that made me sick. There are other kinds of, sometimes I just like to use a single herb for a tea. I'm really big on peppermint tea. If you want to be energized but you don't want caffeine, peppermint tea is a great way to do that. My herbalist friend likes to make a tea out of dried ginger for energizing when you don't want caffeine. Ginger is also really good for your circulation and your blood flow, and kind of getting, like, stimulating everything, getting your senses and your creativity stimulated. Another single herb that I like to use for a tea is lavender. You have to be careful with lavender because it's one of those sedative herbs that when you use it in a small quantity, it will relax you. But if you use a large quantity of it, then it'll be stimulating. But a lot of people have an aversion to lavender, or maybe even don't know that you can imbibe it. And I highly recommend lavender tea. It's really quite delightful. Okay, so I see a question over here from you, Kai, on YouTube, and I'm going to get to it in just a moment. And so what happens when you are a spiritual worker and your husband is not? Burmatician senses negativity, but not in a bad way. You can sense his negativity, but not in a bad way. Well, I'm a spiritual worker and my husband is not. And we have a lot of other aspects of our personalities and a lot of other aspects of our astrological charts and a lot of aspects of our interests that really complement and balance each other. We're opposite in a lot of ways, but we have a lot of commonality as well. So I find that we have a really interesting dynamic where we're not interested in the same things, but the underlying expression of things has a lot in common, if that makes sense. So our ideals and our ideas and the things that inspire us are very similar, but the way that we express that in our outer world is very different. So just knowing that we understand why each other are doing what we're doing is enough to have common ground. I mean, you also said that you're an empath, so of course you sense his negativity, and he's your husband, so you're already very sensitive to him. I have that experience too with people around me, and it just becomes really important to protect yourself with that energy work I was talking about, but also check in with yourself and make sure that you're being aware of what you're feeling and why, because if you don't think about it, if you don't observe yourself, and you don't check in with yourself, then you can get carried away with it thinking and not even realize like, oh, I just like flipped into a horrible mood. I'm spiraling out of control and I don't even know why. And you could take a moment to take a deep breath and check in with yourself and be like, oh, it's because my husband came home really stressed out and I let it affect me. So some simple mindfulness techniques are also really helpful for people who are really sensitive to energy and live with other people that are very expressive. My husband's very expressive. Okay, I'm going to get back to you all in a moment. So any advice on getting in touch with spirit guides? My number one advice for getting in touch with spirit guides is a meditation practice. And the reason why is it's going to strengthen and heighten your natural born spiritual gifts and your intuition. And anything that heightens your spiritual gifts, meaning your psychic abilities, your senses, and your intuition, is going to allow you to connect more strongly with your spirit guides, which we all have. So keep in mind that you don't have to go out and find them. They're already there with you. So then what you have to work on is strengthening the connection and being available to them and letting them know that you want to talk to them and you want to connect and build and strengthen that relationship. The number one thing that's most important to you is to recognize where your spiritual gifts are strongest. Is it going to be with your sense of sight? Is it going to be with your sense of hearing? Is it going to be with your sense of feeling? Is it going to be with your other senses, right? So identify, do you have a tendency towards clairsentience, claircognizance, clairaudience, clairvoyance, or other? And then once you identify that, then you can see or know how their messages are going to be coming to you and set that intention that you know they're there and that you wish to communicate and to strengthen that connection. How do you know when a deity has reached out to you? You know, you see the signs and you trust your intuition. You will have an intuition about it. It will come to you in a way that is clear to you, and it will come to you in a way that makes sense to you as an individual. We are all vibrating at our own unique frequency, and spirit is going to reach us in the way that makes the most sense to us and is most approachable to us. So it's going to be clear to you. You're going to have an intuition about it, and then you trust that intuition, trust those signs. But another thing that is really helpful in determining things like that is to study mythology, study signs and symbols, study archetypes, study that kind of symbolic language that spirit often communicates to us in, so that when you see specific symbols or signs, you know what it relates to. But it sounds to me like you already had an intuition that that was happening to you, so it probably has happened to you. And then you can always ask for clarification, right? Or ask for another sign, and you'll receive it if they're reaching out to you. Oh, he doesn't believe in anything. She's saying her husband doesn't believe in anything, that she's spiritual and that her husband doesn't believe in anything. So, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. It's just a matter of respecting each other, you know, as long as he respects that you have your beliefs, and as long as he respects that it's important to you to do things the way that you do them, you know, as long as he's not putting that down and you can accept and understand each other, then you're all good. But I mean, I've seen lots of relationships like that. You're 26 years apart. That's a significant amount. Yours is quiet, but very skeptical, and he makes faces all the time. So you feel like he's judging you. So you need to talk to him about that. I think that it's important for you to express your feelings. You don't want to be judged, right? So I think that's something to discuss. You need the freedom to believe that the way that you do and to act upon those beliefs without being judged. So maybe it sounds to me like that's a discussion that you all should have. Windows. Let's see. Two widows and then married again. It's an interesting dynamic. I'm sure that there is a important reason that the two of you were brought together in the beginning, right? So getting back to remembering that reason, remembering the things that you have in common, and then having that discussion about the judgment that you're feeling and about the fact that you need the freedom and acceptance to believe the way that you do and practice the way that you do. I think those things are going to be really important for you in feeling more comfortable with this. Is there a proper way to turn off a candle? Do you blow it out or touch it to turn it off? Do not blow out a candle. I do have a candle. I have a video on YouTube about the basics of candle magic and candle safety, where I talk about things of this nature. And yeah, you don't blow out a candle, especially when you're using it for spiritual work or magic or spell work. You should always snuff it out. Yeah, we don't blow it out because we respect the spirit of fire as a living spirit, as an energetic entity. So especially if we are practicing magic or we are practicing spell work, it's really important that you don't blow that candle out until the candle is all the way extinguished. Now, that doesn't mean that the candle has to burn consecutively until it's complete. You can put it out, but use a snuffer. And when I don't have an official snuffer, and you don't need one either. I use a little teacup to put my candles out. But another way is that you can also wet your fingers and squeeze the flame. If the flame is big, obviously you might not want to do that. I'm very used to working with fire, so I do often do that. But yeah, you don't blow it out. That's disrespectful. Just like this person is saying, I am Infinity 13. That's right. It's disrespectful. It's a living being. So you want that candle to burn out on its own. So, do you ever have trouble balancing magic and the mundane? I used to have a lot of trouble balancing magic and the mundane, but now it is such a big, important part of my life that it naturally happens for me, because I have found ways to make magic a part of my everyday life. And that's not something that has to be complicated either. So it's all about working it into your daily routine in a way that is approachable to you, and in a way that makes sense to you, and in a way that works for you. and taking away a lot of the stigma that comes with all of these lofty ideas that people perpetuate about what you need to do in order to prepare for magic and how complicated or advanced it needs to be, and just recognizing and getting to the root of it, that folk magic is supposed to be approachable and easy and simple and practical. It's supposed to be a part of our everyday lives, and it doesn't require exotic ingredients, and it doesn't require extensive preparation, and you can make it a part of your house cleaning. You can make it a part of your bath and beauty rituals. I have a video on YouTube about practical everyday magic, and there's a lot of good ideas in there. Also, this is just, this is something that I've been doing for so long, and that has been important to me for the majority of my life. So it's always come natural to me, and I've always made a point to do certain practices in my everyday life. And once you make a habit of something, like it takes like 3 weeks, I think, to make a habit. Once you make a habit out of something, it has the potential to stick with you for the rest of your life. So if you want to make a habit out of prayer or meditation, for example, just force yourself to stick with it for like 3 weeks, and then you'll have it for the rest of your life, and all kinds of things like that. Okay, I look forward to checking your email. I check usually once a day, sometimes every 2 or 3 days, but usually once a day. I can't see what you wrote. It's inquiries@missmelinda.com. Let's see what's over here. Oh, well, that's a good start. She's saying, although he now believes in ghosts because there is one in our house, the previous owner died in our house and he showed himself to Jim, and now he believes, but I cannot get his spirit to leave. Well, that's really interesting. Actually, that's kind of a positive thing for you in your relationship, because I think that it's really kind of great that your husband is being opened up to the spirit world, even though he says that he doesn't believe in anything. So right there, you can see that he does believe in something. He is just very reluctant to admit it. And this is Spirit's way of opening up his mind and bringing some things into him that are probably going to help him develop and open his mind further in other ways. You can't get it to leave. Well, why do you want it to leave? I think that I think we have a lot of preconceived ideas about how we as humans should deal with the spirit world. And I don't think it's always pertinent or helpful to ask or try to force a spirit to leave. I don't think that it's always a good idea. So really assess the situation. Is he hurting you? Was it his home before yours? Is he, if he's not disrupting or hurting or doing anything, bringing any negative energy into the house, then, he has a right to be there. So he probably would prefer to have a good relationship with you, and you could look at him as the spirit of the house, and you could pay him respect in that way. I'm not saying worship him. I'm saying pay him respect in the way that he is connected to the home, and see about, your relationship with him. But it sounds to me like he doesn't want to leave, and maybe it'd be better to work on your relationship. My YouTube name, MissMelindasMetaphysicalServices.com, is how you can find me everywhere and anywhere. Can you advise something I have saved did amass nothing? I'm not sure what you're saying. You've saged, okay. So my views about sage are different than other people's views about sage. I see sage as an offering to the spirit world and as a tool to open up portals and communication with the spirit world, because that's how the Indigenous Americans used it. So I don't necessarily see it as something that banishes spirits. And if you need to banish a spirit, you need something a lot stronger than sage anyway. So I feel like sage is kind of misused a lot and misunderstood, which is not, it's not people's faults. There's just a lot of misinformation out there about it. So it's going to be saved. So I recommend that you go back and watch it when it's saved in my story. It'll be available for 24 hours. But I was just talking about sage, and it's definitely not strong enough to banish a spirit if you did need to banish a spirit. I use sage to open up portals in the spirit world. That's how the Indigenous Americans used it. It's used as an offering to the spirit world, and it's used as opening up communication to the spirit world. So, and it's not strong enough for banishing a spirit. So there's a lot of misconceptions about sage. Is this spirit bad? You know, quote unquote bad? Is he doing something wrong? Is he disrupting your home? Is he, you know, I think it's important for you to assess that, because if there's nothing wrong and it's just the fact that there's a spirit in your house, then I think that you're better off working on your relationship with that spirit, because he was there first and he has a right to be where he wants to be. So I also feel that there are a lot of misconceptions about spirits and how us humans interact with spirits and live with spirits as well. So take that into consideration. I don't think that it's necessarily the right thing to just banish every spirit that we come across, you know, and to just kind of boss them around. There's a reason that he's there, so you're better off working on that relationship. Well, he probably wants something from you. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, I think that you're saying you feel, so she says, no, he's not doing anything wrong or bad, but he shows himself too much like he's watching her. So I think what you're saying is that you're a bit uncomfortable with having a spirit in your house that feels like it's watching over you. I think what you're saying is that you're uncomfortable that he died in the house and that you feel like he's looking at you. So what I would encourage is that I'm going to keep repeating myself, that you work on your relationship with your idea of spirits and also with this particular spirit. If he really is watching you, then he probably wants something from you. So figure out what that is. And maybe when you come to some kind of peaceful resolution, then maybe he won't bother you so much. But, you know, if he were really upset, he'd be doing other things. If he has the power to actually show himself visibly to you, and you also have the sensitivity to see him, then he would have the ability to do things that would bother you or disturb your daily life as well. And he's not doing those things. He's just kind of hanging out like, hey, I'm still here. And I know that you can see me. I know that you're sensitive to me. So, you know, there's something he wants to communicate or something that he needs, some kind of closure. Figure that out, and maybe he'll be able to go on his way and do other things. Thank you. So I was like gonna say what you were writing at the same time as I was saying what I was saying. Thank you so much for participating, Kai. It was a pleasure to chat with you and answer your questions. Thank you for being one of my 2 YouTube viewers today, and I look forward to your email. I'll talk to you soon. Be blessed. Now I can see the clock very visibly in front of me because YouTube keeps track of how long the video is. So now I know when we're coming to a close. So we've got about just a little over 5 minutes left. So if any of you have had any questions that you haven't had a chance to ask, then now would be a great time for you to ask them in our last 5 minutes. And you can ask me anything about your spiritual development, your spiritual practice, developing your psychic abilities, developing and strengthening your intuition, working with your spirit guides, your ancestors, your guardian spirits, all kinds of things related and in between, including candle magic and folk magic and divination and meditation. And I'm happy to answer your questions to the best of my ability. Our live spirit chats happen once a week. I try to do them every week, and I usually announce them a couple of days in advance. And this is a chance for you to participate in a group coaching session. So this is really a time for you to get your questions answered. Some of the things that we talked about earlier, in case you weren't here, were the Pisces new moon and the Mercury retrograde and how our emotions are being affected and how we're getting in tune with our creativity, and we're getting in tune with our dream worlds. Okay, there's a way of asking him without offending him. Yeah, of course. Just ask him like you would a person. You know, just what do you need? Is there something that you need from me? Is there some way that I can help you? Or what do you need, you know? Just the same way that you would ask a person. We have to get away from this idea of thinking about spirits and thinking about the spirit world as being something that we can't relate to. The spirit world and spirits, they are just like people in a lot of ways. Or what I should say rather is that our relationship with them is very similar to our relationship with other people. So just think of treating him the way that you would an acquaintance. Be polite, but also be direct, because he's in your house and he needs something from you and you need to know what it is. So be polite but direct. He's not going to get offended. This is not an angry or mean or like ill-tempered spirit, because if he was, you would know it. Because like I said, he has the ability to show himself to you. You have the sensitivity to see him. If he were ill-tempered, he would also be showing that to you by now. So you're not going to offend him. I highly, highly doubt it. I mean, you can light him a candle if you want to. You got to be careful with that, because this is not like a spirit that you want to start giving offerings to. This is tricky territory, because you don't know if this is an elevated spirit. You don't know, like, you got to work on your relationship with him first before you start doing stuff like that. One way to look at this would be like you lighting him a candle is you offering him light to assist with his spiritual evolution. And one way of looking at this would be like, it can be seen as an offering, and you want to make it clear that you're not giving an offering to this spirit, because he's not necessarily an elevated spirit. So just to kind of like give you a short, simple, summarized answer, work on your relationship with him first and see what he needs first before you start doing things like that. If you develop a really good relationship and you trust him after that, then you can offer him candles as a way of assisting him with his spiritual evolution. But that's a much more complicated matter that you're going to want to look into further before you do it. And I am going to log off because we've been on almost an hour. There's just a couple of minutes left here. I thank you so much for participating today. I thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate all of your excellent questions. I really enjoy interacting with you. And stay tuned for Spirit Chat, which will happen, I believe, next Friday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, always. And I will announce that a couple of days beforehand and remember to remind you as well. So thanks so much, everyone. Stay blessed.